LunaCorp was with David Gump and some other folks. The goal of LunaCorp was to try and put commercial rovers and exploration systems on the lunar surface. That's the name LunaCorp. We were a little bit ahead of our time. And it was very interesting because at the same time there was another company called Blastoff that was trying to do the same thing.
This was when?
In the early 90s. And my friend Peter Diamandis was working on Blastoff, and then we were over here on LunaCorp trying our thing. And both companies ended up falling apart over time. But our last gasp, because we had made such good contacts, and David Gump had done such a good job being thrown out of every boardroom in America, that he was able to develop a strong contact with Radio Shack. And I remember going to the Final Four, or the final playoffs for the NBA at an Irish bar in LA. And there were a bunch of us standing there. And it was funny, everybody else in the bar was watching the game and then turning away to talk during the commercials. Those of us who knew this commercial was going to run by Radio Shack were watching the commercials and talking amongst ourselves about space during the game. It was Radio Shack, and it was a little device that was a sort of a talking picture frame. And so we went to the Russians, who we had developed a relationship with, and were able to convince them to carry one of these Radio Shack talking picture frames up. And in the commercial, the Russian cosmonaut has a picture of his daughter, and it's her voice, it's daddy, in Russian. And then he puts it by the window, and the camera zooms past that, and there's the Earth, and it's Radio Shack. And so we were able to say we did the first commercial shot in space. I believe you have to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. So doing LunaCorp, where we were trying to do commercial stuff on the moon, or MirCorp, where we were trying to do, that's my idea of, like, you got to get your hands dirty. You can't just sit up here and, oh, the future of humanity. You got to get in there and show it and do it. As NewSpace began to happen, I started to look around for a niche. These guys are all going to go digging for gold. Well, I want to be Levi Strauss and sell them jeans. And, and a friend of mine with X-Corps, Jeff Grayson, was encouraging me. Several other people were encouraging me to get involved. And it was really a low-cost niche, the idea of spacesuits for the commercial space firms. I didn't want to be one of these guys that had to go around raising tens of millions of dollars. I was too lazy for that. But something that I could do for a few $100K was get together some people, create spacesuits. So I brought in Chris Gilman, from Global Effects. Chris actually did the spacesuits for the movie Armageddon, Earth to the Moon, Serenity, all these other shows. And yet he also understands medieval armor. He's a historical expert in that area. And then I brought him with some NASA medical type personnel and some people from the aerospace contracting world and put them together. I believe in Renaissance teams. We created the company, and in 2006 we began a project to build the world's first commercial spacesuit, the Industrial Suborbital Spacesuit, or the IS-3 as we call it. November 2007, we rolled out the first functioning prototype of the IS-3, and we did it all for less than NASA pays retail for one glove. The next phase of that project is, there are two phases. One is to develop the passenger or participant suits. The suit we have now is for the drivers, the test drivers of these different vehicles, the test pilots. Following that, we get into the participant suits, which have to be a little more user-friendly and cooler looking. We have a rule in our company that we call the Dude Ranch rule, the Dude Ranch effect. That is, because everything's different when you're dealing with paying customers. The Dude Ranch effect is if you fly into space, just like if you go to a dude ranch, you don't want to just look like a cowboy, you want to look like John Wayne playing a cowboy. So our suit's got to look really cool. The next phase of that is a project called Space Diver. Space Diver is the idea of how do you get people out of suborbital vehicles alive in case of an emergency. A parachute is both a safety device and a sporting device. And advances in either field help the other. Our goal with Space Diver is to create the world's most extreme sport, diving from 30 to 60 to 120 miles. Or conversely, getting people out of Virgin vehicles or X-Corps or Armadillo vehicles in an emergency, saving lives. So we're working with the extreme sports community, the parachuting community, etc. There is a company, Red Bull, that's going for this thing called the Stratus. That's great. We're excited. They're going old school. They're jumping from a balloon. We can always go higher. We got rockets. So this is a space project. This isn't a skydiving stunt. And by the way, everybody else jumps. We trademarked the word space dive. So we're the space divers. And, you know, but part of the reason for creating Space Diver was to get excitement back into the field. Extreme sports are something young people can get involved with and get excited about. And that's part of what we have to do in this new movement is get people excited. You know, it's one thing to watch people doing stuff in TV and science fiction movies. It's another to go out there and do it yourself.